left out, I believe I asked you, was it not true that before you gave Dr. Walker your estimates of alcohol consumption, you had seen someone testify in court about an alcoholic blackout, correct?
I don't remember what court hearing it was, but
That was Mr. Vandenburg, actually, wasn't it?
I don't remember.
You don't remember? I'm sorry, and I didn't mean to interrupt you. Let me go to that in a second. But back to the issues at hand. So you never watched any video that was on anyone's cell phone prior to being charged with this offense?
No, sir, I hadn't seen any videos.
Okay. And so at the time you would have given your statements to Vanderbilt Student Affairs, you had seen no videos, correct?
No video.
No videos. And are you telling the jury that you did not even watch the 31-second video that was on your own phone?
JT just said he has seen no videos.
I'm asking a question. Are you saying you did not watch the 31-second video on your own phone?
No, sir, I deleted it.
Sight unseen.
Say it again, I'm sorry.
You deleted it sight unseen, knowing it was within the time frame that you say you had no memory of what occurred.
Question.
Judge.
All right, finish the question.
This was a period of time you say you have no memory of, correct?
Yes, sir.
Did you have any curiosity about what had happened during those many hours?
I had no idea what had happened.
That's not my question. I said, did you have any curiosity about it?
When Tip called me, I immediately looked at my phone, and I didn't know the woman, I didn't know the female, I didn't know what had happened.
When you woke up on that Sunday morning before going to church, did you have any personal curiosity about what had happened between East?
I don't know if it's actually been answered. It was asked.
Between East Hall parking lot and your dorm room?
No, sir.
Did you attempt in any way to find out what had occurred during those several hours?
No, sir.
All right. Your drinking, however much that may be, was entirely voluntary, correct?
Yes, sir.
And did I understand that prior to this night you had only had 3 or 4 drinks as an adult?
I was 19 at the time, so 3 or 4 drinks. Yes, sir.
Okay. On one prior occasion, correct?
I mean, not one, I guess, yes, sir.
All right. And so you are aware, are you not, that Dr. Walker diagnosed you with alcohol use disorder?
I wasn't aware of that.
So was this the second time in your life that you had consumed alcohol?
I mean, I had consumed alcohol when I got to college.
Which would have been a year before?
The summer, yes, sir.
Well, June of 2012, pardon me, was when you came on campus, correct?
Yes, sir.
Right. As a scholarship athlete, correct?
Yes, sir.
So you had a full ride.
Yes, sir.
Right. And you mentioned something on direct examination about that evening meeting up with your mentor who gave you money. Who was that?
Coach Whitfield.
Okay. And was he your position coach?
No, sir. He was the coach that kind of led me to Innsworth before I was at
that
Metro.
coach in I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but
Before
yes.
I was in Metro Nashville Public School, and he kind of bridged the gap for me to go to Innsworth.
Okay, I understand now who you're talking about. It's
Yes.
Mr. David Whitfield, who's employed at Innsworth, and That's where you went to high school.
Yes, sir.
Also on scholarship, correct?
I was fortunate to have some financial assistance.
Okay. Now, with respect to who was the teammate who bought the alcohol? Do you remember that?
It was an upperclassman teammate. I think it was Kraus.
Okay. Wasn't Mr. Boyd?
No, sir.
Okay. Mr. Boyd was an upperclassman, correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. And, pardon me, you and Mr. McKenzie were both, I guess, redshirt freshmen? What was he?
As far as football classification,
Yeah.
yes, sir. But in the classroom, we were sophomores.
Yeah. And I was talking about the football, but yes, you
Okay.
would have been sophomores, but you redshirted as a freshman, correct?
Yes, sir. That's correct.
And Mr. McKenzie, did he redshirt that year as well?
Yes, sir.
Okay, that's what I thought. So, back to we're going to go to the 25th. That was a Tuesday, correct? The day you met with Vanderbilt Student Affairs?
If that was the day of the week, yes, sir, that would be correct. Yes, sir.
Okay. And you had seen some still photographs by that morning or that day, correct?
The only photos I had seen is the photos I had deleted from my phone, so.
Well, so we're in agreement. You had seen some still photographs during that vacant period of your memory.
Yes, sir. The only ones from my phone, yes, sir.
And so, that was the entire visual imagery you had seen prior to speaking to, well, it's actually Mr. G.L. Black, correct?
Can you restate the question? I'm confused.
Well, Mr. G.L. Black, he's Vanderbilt, the one who did the interview that you wrote out the handwritten statement for.
Yes, sir.
And conducted the interview.
Yes, sir, that's correct.
I'm just saying, just to be clear before I go to another question. When you met with him, the only images you had seen were those from your cell phone, correct?
Yes, sir.
You had not seen any of the surveillance footage that was shown to the jury about Mr. Vandenburg, meeting up with y'all, the Gillette Circle, none of those images you had seen, none of them, correct?
No, sir.
All right. So the answers and the statements that you gave to Mr. Black during the interview were all part of a script you had rehearsed and remembered, or memorized, correct?
I remember being the day before with Banks and they explaining how, it's like, man, you were so drunk. But,
Okay, well, could you listen to my question?
Can he finish?
Not if he's not responsive to my question.
He has to respond to the question, and then he can explain himself.
Okay.
And my question was premised upon the things you had not seen. The answers you gave to Mr. Black during that interview would have been from a memorized script, according to you, correct?
Yes, that was provided.
Okay. Your Honor, could he be handed, I believe it's Exhibit 5, if I'm wrong about that, it's the transcript from June 25th. That's all right.
Transfers.
Yeah.
It's not something we have
Thank you.
passed it up.
And Judge, if we still have the copies, might those be passed back to the jury to follow along?
All right.
Since we don't have that up on the screen.
Connor, I would suggest, I would think this is being offered for impeachment, but I don't know if if a question has been asked to impeach him about.
And that's making sure everybody has something to follow along with before I start asking.
This one right
It
here.
says Vanderbilt and 1, yeah, that's it.
Well, my suggestion would be, Your Honor, if you can have them ready to pass out, but unless there's an occasion to hand out the transcript, this is all sort of unnecessary.
That's fine, it's just for convenience, whatever the court wants. Mr. Batey, you've got the actual exhibit there in front of you. And starting with man, who would be Mr. Black, we would, as we know, ask you to start by telling us a little bit about what you did on Saturday night, starting sometime after dinner. Were you aware that that was going to be his first question when you walked into that room?
No, sir.
All right. But you were prepared for any question that he was going to possibly ask you, correct?
Regarding the situation, yes.
All right. So you answer Saturday night, went to the dorm to get changed. That was true, correct?
Yes,
And you remembered that from your own mind, correct?
that's correct.
As well as, I got with some friends for a while, pretty much it, went back to my dorm with some of my friends. You have a recollection of that, correct?
Yes,
And you say, and as I was coming downstairs, dropped one of my female friends off because we were all just together. That would have been during the period of time that you have no memory, correct?
yes, sir.
So that is part of the script that you had memorized, according to you. Is that correct?
That's what Banks told me I had done, so.
Okay. I'm asking you, but you had memorized that in case you were going to be asked that question, correct?
Well, that's what Banks had told me had happened.
So, my friend Brandon, he asked for some help.
That's what Banks told me.
You weren't even asked a question about that, though, were you? There's no question before that. You volunteered that.
Yeah, but I knew it was the next in line of what Banks had told me to say.
And you say, I guess the girl was belligerent drunk. And you hadn't seen the video of her at all, correct?
No, sir.
He asked us to help him to his room. Again, part of the script.
Yes, sir.
Dropped her off, left, then my girlfriend came. Again, something you were told that had happened
Yes, sir.
by individuals who, or you would have known your girlfriend, or who that was?
Yes, sir. I mean, we all hung out together.
And I'm not going to go through each and every one, but let's go over to page 2. The third question down, and you were with Brandon Banks and Tip, and then some females, okay. So you guys went back to Gillette, and then Brandon and Tip went to get food, and your answer was, which I take would be a yes. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
So you had prepared for that part of the script as well, had memorized that without having any personal memory of it whatsoever.
Yes, sir. I knew that was next in line.
And the question was, but you didn't go with them. Answer, I didn't go to Qdoba. You had not seen any text messages or reviewed any text messages from that period of time, had you?
No, sir.
And of course, we've seen up here the order that you placed about the quesadilla, and the quesadilla was from Ms. Royster, correct?
I don't remember.
Oh, okay. And the specific items that they were to bring back. You've seen the text, though, correct?
Yeah, if it was
They came
up there,
from your
yes.
phone.
Yes, sir.
All right. The next question is, at some point, did Brandon Vandenburg, did he call or text you that he needed help, or you just happened to run into him? Your answer was, as I was walking out the door, a female friend I was with, we all kind of coincidentally met up. That's part of the script that you had memorized.
That's what Banks told me it happened.
Sight unseen from the video.
I mean, that's what Banks told me. So,
They ask you about
Yeah, objected this time to be a waste of the court's time. He's already said that everything in here is what Banks told him. So he has agreed that everything in here is a script from Banks, and he has answered that consistently for the last times he has read from here. So he's conceded that it's a waste of the court's time at this point.
In this cross-examination, he can ask.
Mr. Batey, what I'm asking about the details, and certainly it'll be for the jury to determine, but details such as you saying, she like mumbled. Are you telling this jury that Mr. Banks had crafted a script so much detail that you had that ready to give?
I mean, we met for a long time, and he was going over step by step what we should say if we were questioned. So
There was no audio with those still photographs that you saw, were there, on your phone?
no, sir.
Threw up in the elevator. Again, just parroting what somebody had told you, correct?
That's what Banks had said happened.
On page 3, you about halfway down, Mr. Black, the man, says, okay, do you know the woman who was in the car? And you say, I do not. That's true from your own knowledge, correct?
I don't think anybody besides Vandenburg knew who she was.
My question is, you didn't need Mr. Brandon Banks to give you that answer, did you?
I mean, I didn't know her. I didn't know her the next day when I saw the pictures in my phone, so I'd never seen her before.
On page 4, at the top, okay, so once you guys got her to the room, what did you do with her then? Your answer, laid her on the floor and left her. And that's actually, laying on the floor was what happened, correct?
Yes, sir.
But the and left her part,
That he be allowed to finish what he was saying.
what were you saying?
I said, yes, sir, from the pictures. Yes, sir.
Okay. And left her. That part was not true, was it?
I mean, that's what I had been told had happened, so I was just...
But you knew from the actual pictures on your phone, did you not, sir, that that was not true?
I didn't know at the time.
Mr. Batey,
Sure.
it would have been the truth had you told Mr. Black, according to you, something to the effect that I drank too much, I don't know what happened. Correct?
Yeah, I was scared because I know that the Commons was a dry campus, and I didn't want to lose my scholarship.
You've sat here and listened to all the people, the testimony about this. You've been on that campus for 1 year, and you telling the jury that you didn't want to admit drinking because it was banned on campus?
Well, the Commons, it was a freshman. It was strictly freshman, and that part of the campus was dry. I think the other parts were wet, maybe.
Again, not having gone to Vanderbilt, not sure, but as you say, alcohol may not be banned from all parts of the campus. Is that your understanding?
I think so.
Okay.
I just knew I stayed on the Commons the year before, and that was dry.
Okay. And that essentially wasn't even anything that would get you kicked off the team, now was it?
Man, it was breaking the rules. I didn't know to the effect how I could be punished for it.
You didn't know what breaking team rules would cost you or would result in?
Well, I think that policy was for the university.
Team had its own rules, right?
They complied with the university, I'm sure.
Which would be what? Running laps, doing extra?
Your Honor, I'll object to the relevance of this.
He's interjected that the reason he didn't tell what he now says is the truth is because he feared consequences from the football team. And that's all that happens if somebody, even is violating student football team, failed drug test, you run laps, go to counseling, get kicked off the football team for that, do you?
You could.
You could.
I think it's up to the coach's discretion.
Mr. Batey, as you acknowledge,
Sir?
you sent and received several text messages during this period of time, correct?
Yes, sir.
The 23rd, 4th, 5th, and a good many of those were involved in the cover-up, correct?
Say it again.
A number of these text messages, and again, I'm not going to go through at this late hour of putting up all these, were directed to what people knew and what was being said and done, correct?
You have to get a specific time frame. He has more than just that one text message in the evidence, so you tell him which one he's talking about.
I'm talking about any of them. I said during this period of time, text messages were back and forth of what does she know. It was whether the cover-up was being successful, correct?
I don't know what anybody else had known at the time, but I mean, I was panicking because I didn't know what was going on.
As you acknowledged on direct, that is you committing these acts against this unconscious woman, correct?
I see myself in the video, but I don't remember it.
I'm not asking you whether you remember it or not. That's you, correct?
He has already testified that that was him. Cumulatively testified himself.
And the state can ask the same question.
Thank you, Your Honor.
And he responded, Your Honor, he said, that's me in the video. I don't know what else there is to that.
All right.
And I don't believe I'd ask any other question after that.
All right.
Yes, yes.
You didn't know this woman, correct?
Yes, sir.
To this day, other than court proceedings, you've never had any contact, been in the same room with her other than that night, correct?
Yes, sir.
And yet, during this, you refer to her as a bitch in emails, correct? Text messages, not emails, correct?
Yes, sir, out of frustration.
Frustration. The events of this night, this morning,
Sir.
involved Mr. Brandon Vandenburg, correct?
Say it again.
It was Mr. Brandon Vandenburg's room, correct?
Yes, sir. From the evidence, you said.
And the young lady was Mr. Vandenburg's friend, correct?
I didn't know who she was.
Well, from what you know now, correct?
From my knowledge now, yes, sir.
And having seen all of these videos now, the clips, the photographs, and even heard, as you did a few days ago here in court, Mr. Vandenburg saying, squeeze it, his voice on that. You heard that, correct?
Yes, sir, I heard.
But even after that, did you not on, I guess it was last, January or February,
Yes.
go on the Dr. Phil show and say you thought Mr. Vandenburg was a fine fella and you'd like to hang out with him?
I just try to look for the best in everybody. I just feel like it wasn't my place to bash the man on national TV with him not having a chance to defend himself. And I just look for the best in everybody. I'm sorry, but that's how I was raised.
Blackout. His testimony. He agreed with it before. And all his texts where he never says
All right.
You have had a chance to review the transcript of your prior testimony at a prior hearing, correct?
Repeat it again, I'm sorry.
I said, before testifying today, have you had a chance to look over your prior testimony at a previous hearing?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And what I'm trying to do is sort of get right to the point of whether, from the testimony and the text messages, as I asked you back then and would ask you again today, there is nothing in any text message to anyone where you say, I was in a blackout, is there?
You can see the confusion, the panic. I didn't know what was going on.
But there is nothing about that whatsoever, is there?
I didn't remember. So.
Nobody made you drink and nobody made you go on the Dr. Phil show, did they?
Objection, Your Honor, that's argumentative in nature. And it's
It's the form of the question.
All right, that's the one question. You talk about going on national TV and not wanting to say anything bad about your co-defendant, Mr. Vandenburg. No one compelled you to go on that show, did they?
Objection, Your Honor, and it's irrelevant. It has nothing to do with this trial.
All right, I submit it did in the sense of his lack of memory.
And the statements he's made.
get into the
That was good testimony, too.
I don't have anything else.
Read the record.
Thank you.
Mr. Batey, I only have a few questions.
Yes, ma'am.
To clarify on cross, when I first asked you about the most you had ever had to drink,
Yes, ma'am.
you said 3 to 4 drinks.
Yes, ma'am.
Was that at one time,
Yes, ma'am.
or was that ever in your life?
Just in one setting.
Okay. And we went over it on direct. We went through the text messages
Yes, ma'am.
and addressed when you called her a bitch, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And at that time when you did that, had you seen any videos?
No, ma'am.
Had you seen any other pictures
No,
than the
ma'am.
ones you deleted out your phone?
Other than the one. No, ma'am. Nothing.
Now, Dr. Phil, after the hearing, when you went on there, did you want to go on Dr. Phil?
I didn't. When I was in incarcerated at the time. The guards they were trying to bring me papers to sign, and I was just confused as to why they kept pressing me to.
Your Honor, this is very relevant because they brought up Dr. Phil like he has made statements or something, and he can just testify that if he wanted to go or not and do it.
What's your answer?
You may explain. I just want me to say this.
What's your answer? Then you can explain.
He did. He said no.
No.
And then he was explaining. So go ahead. What were you saying?
The guards, they would bring me papers to sign, and I was like, I want to consult with my attorney at first, and then they pulled me out of the cell. I forget his name. Was like, it started with a W. I think he's the chief, not the chief of jail, but I forget, like Wykerson or Wilker, something like that. Mm-hmm. And he pulled me out, brought me to this room. He was like, call your attorney, and I called him from jail, and they didn't answer, and I was like, I'm not signing it until I consult with my attorney. And he seemed frustrated by it, and I went back to my cell, and then my attorney visited, and we talked about it, and he decided that would be the best thing for everybody. Although I didn't agree with it, I took the advisement of my attorney because he thought that was the best thing to do. I didn't get paid for it, nothing. I did it because I thought that would be the best thing for everybody. So.
And what you said on Dr. Phil, was that consistent with what you've been saying the entire time?
Yes, ma'am.
Your Honor, he has opened the door as to what he said at Dr. Phil, and now I am merely asking if what he said on Dr. Phil is consistent with what he has been saying.
Your Honor, I object to that. This is a very limited question.
The door was open as to Dr. Phil,
Well,
and I'm just asking the question.
Ms. Teasley, are you going to let me respond?
I definitely am, Your Honor. I was just responding to counsel.
Well, I'm going to sustain the objection.
Did you ever at any time say that you have a memory between those hours of 1:30 to sometime before 11?
No, ma'am.
Thank you.
No, Your Honor.
All right, you may step down, sir. Any other witnesses? Any other witnesses?
Oh, yes. Yeah, we have Mr. Whitfield. We'd like to take a quick break if we can.
No, not right now. We need to move on, and then we can take a break. All
I
right?
have to the restroom, Your Honor, and that is my witness, and I can't help it to have these restroom.
Okay.
All rise.
Court will be in recess till 4:08. 5 minutes break.
That's on this slow. It's really boring.
All right, who's going to examine him?
And I'm sorry, Your Honor, I'm unfamiliar with a proper, do I just need to just ask him what my regular questions? I was going to skip past his background or anything.
He does need to state his name.
Okay. State your name for the record.
David Whitfield.
Okay. And Mr. Whitfield, how do you know Mr. Batey?
He was a student at Innsworth High School, where I currently teach. I had the opportunity to both teach and coach him for about 4 years. And he and I developed I would say, a very fraternal relationship.
Okay. And how would you describe Mr. Batey in your time with him?
Very honest, dependable. I think he was a solid citizen of the Innsworth community. Very engageable, hardworking, very competitive. He seemed to enjoy immense popularity with his peers. He was a normal male. Sometimes he would get in an occasional tiff with his peers, nothing serious, but always easily redirected.
Okay.
Very respectful.
And do you remember Mr. Batey as an aggressive person?
I do not. I remember him as a competitor on the fields of play. As a student in the hallways, he just appeared very affable, jovial, very consistent disposition. No, aggressive is not the way I would describe him.
Okay. And, do you have, and I apologize, 1 second. Now, did you ever know him to drink?
No.
Okay. And, Your Honor, pretty much that's just where we're going with that as far as the pertinent character trait. So I don't know if you want more, but that's where we're going with the pertinent character trait under 404.
All right, that's the sum and substance.
Actually, Your Honor, I would submit that it is under 405. Methods of proving character is the, what I ask the court to take a look at.
I'm looking at it.
Is this, yes, it's, we both are, in all cases in which evidence of character or a trait of a person, of character of a person's admissible, proof may be made by testimony as reputation, obviously, opinion. And I would submit that what those pertinent character traits are is what needs to be defined at this point in the proceeding as to what he can give his opinion about. I gather it's sobriety, honesty, and peacefulness.
Correct.
But nothing beyond anything more.
Right, that's what's been stated, yes.
Yes.
You're correct.
As far as, I know counsel said she wasn't going to go into the preliminaries, but as far as how he knows Mr. Batey outside of Innsworth, maybe. But here is the point, I was going to say this, not to belabor it, that the state would be intending to question his knowledge based on other acts, which the court takes a look at the advisory commission comments about examining executive order and ask the witness about rumors, charges, other things that may, if he has heard, it doesn't affect him, the jury can consider that one way or another, or if he hasn't heard it, just whether the basis of his foundation or his knowledge. So after he testifies on direct, I suspect, unless they want to do it, that we need to have a jury out about the inquiry the state intends to go into.
All right.
And that would be, I'll go ahead and say this, the drinking to excess, alcohol use disorder, cannabis use disorder, assaulting a fellow student at Vanderbilt, things of that nature.
All right. Okay, and we will have a jury out on that. Okay, let's bring him in.
Governor, can you, I didn't understand what you said we would have a jury out on.
Okay, as to what they're going to inquire into in their cross-examination of Mr. Whitfield.
Okay.
And they can ask about rumors and
I understand.
such other behavior.
I figured that that would take place before, prior to the jury coming in. Is that not something we would do before the jury comes in? No?
Well, I mean,
Obviously, I'm mistaken.
we can do it now if you'd like to do it
I
now.
would prefer
Judge,
to.
I would, the rule would be after he's testified on the record.
All right.
No.
All rise.
Face the clerk. Raise your right hand.
Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do. Have a seat.
Mr. Whitfield, please state your name for the record.
David Whitfield,
And where do you currently work?
Innsworth High School.
And how long have you been there?
It's a good question. Approximately 11 years. Wait, 10 years. I was at Montgomery Bell Academy previously. I know I've been an educator in the Nashville Independent School Network for approximately 20 years now.
Okay.
It all has begun to run together. I apologize.
No problem. No big deal. Tell me a little bit about your background. Tell me about yourself.
I'm passionate about education. I've dedicated my life to trying to enhance the life chances of at-risk or disadvantaged youth. I attended Tennessee State University, the University of Chicago, and I'm currently a graduate student at Vandenburg University. And I have dedicated myself to the mentoring of youth from all walks of life.
Okay. And tell me how you know Mr. Batey.
Sure. About 5 years ago now, I was part of an informal coalition of professional black males, if you will, who were dedicated to identifying promising youth in the Nashville community and helping remove obstacles in their way to ensure that their human potential could be realized. I received a call from a very...
Your Honor,
Yes.
the object of this is outside the scope as was being hearsay,
Yeah.
beyond that necessary.
Right.
Well, so you were saying that's how you met Mr. Batey.
Yes, yes. I
Well,
received...
you were getting there to how you met him. Go
Yes,
ahead.
absolutely. I received a call from a Nashville...
testify as to how you met him. You can't testify as to what other people said. You're receiving a call and what they told you, you can't testify.
Okay. He took a tour of Innsworth High School where he was seeking admission.
And that's where you met him for the first time?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And how was he in your class? How did you all interact there?
He was. I had him as a student in British literature. Now, he wasn't crazy about British literature, but he was easily redirected, and whenever he missed assignment, all I had to do was call him, and he would rise to the occasion.
Okay.
Jack, character trait.
Right.
Schoolwork.
I just asked him about how he met Mr. Beatty.
He was,
and went on. That's okay.
May I?
Well, you have to stick to certain specific information.
Sure.
All right. You met him. He was a student of yours, and I believe you coached him.
Correct.
All right.
And you were his coach as well
Yes.
for football?
Football and initially basketball. I think he played freshman basketball as well.
Okay. And how many years?
He played football for 4 years. At the varsity level, I believe 3 years.
Okay. Now, you talked about what type of student Mr. Beatty was and whatnot, and I want to know, did you feel Mr. Beatty was aggressive in any way?
No, I wish he had been more aggressive intellectually in British literature. No, Cory Batey was a fine citizen. He interacted peacefully with his peers.
Okay.
He was polite, mannerable. I never heard him utter a disrespectful word to my colleagues, faculty.
Okay.
Never.
Now, as far as you and, did you ever know him to mistreat women?
No.
Okay. And after he graduated, did you all stay in contact?
Yes, periodically.
Okay.
Periodically.
And did he make you aware?
May I elaborate on my answer?
Oh, yeah,
Judge,
yeah,
or
yes, you can.
whomever? Yeah.
Object to this. Steve Branion speaking.
Right.
Your Honor, go ahead.
No, he is a character witness, and that's
Right.
what he's here to testify about, his character.
Okay, and I was just gonna let him elaborate what he was saying, but anyhow, you said you've never known him to be aggressive or anything of that nature.
No.
I want to know if you knew about him getting in any trouble while at Innsworth.
Some absenteeism, tardies, what I would consider minor infractions.
Okay.
Sure.
So what about
Fairly normal infractions.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you know about him getting in any trouble at Vanderbilt?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
Okay. And what kind of trouble did he get into?
I knew that he had failed a drug test.
Yeah, that's fine, but the rule is for character evidence, not background.
Your Honor, may we have a brief in the back about this? Because I think this is what we just talked about as far as the jury out, but I'm opening the door for it, so.
All right.
With him. But before we get there, what is your opinion of Mr. Beatty?
I do object, it has to be a specific trait.
As to his peacefulness, what is your opinion of him?
As I mentioned previously, during my experience with Cory Batey, his behavior was marked by peacefulness, affability. He was very engaging. He had a quiet, but yet very attractive disposition to most people.
What about, you said you had never known him to drink.
No.
And is that because you know him in high school and things of that nature?
At Innsworth High School, I did not know Cory Batey to drink.
Okay. And it was testified that you regularly help him out because he is a broke college student. Is that true?
Yes, while he was in college.
And then, Your Honor, relevant character trait, not whether he's helped him out in college.
Mood strike.
All right.
And you know what we're here for. You know the charges against him, right?
I do. I guess feel like I'm somewhat on the periphery, in as much as I don't fully profess to understand all the nuances of the law.
Right. And
But I have a sense of why we're here, sure.
okay, of the charges against him.
Yes, ma'am.
And does that change your opinion of him?
Well, based upon my understanding, you're innocent until proven guilty, and I think while the trial is still taking place, I don't feel it's appropriate for me to draw any conclusions. I can just base my opinion of him upon the interactions and the experiences that I've had with him and how I knew him.
Thank you, Mr. Whitfield.
Sure.
All right. You want jury out?
I think probably so.
All right. I'm going to have to ask you to step out just for a few minutes, okay? All right.
Can I rise it again?
Just stand there.
Judge, I'll certainly, before the jury, have other preliminary questions and discussions, but Dr. Whitfield, the purpose of this is for me to ask you, it's going to be doctor,
I haven't
right?
learned to doctor it.
But it's going to be, right?
Maybe, one day,
Well,
hopefully.
hopefully so. Mr. Whitfield.
Yes.
Mr. Whitfield, the purpose of this is for the court to determine whether certain questions are allowed to be asked and testing your knowledge of Mr. Batey and whether it would affect your opinion. And so one of those would be...
I don't understand.
Oh, okay. Judge, is it all right if I try to explain?
Yes.
A character witness can be asked about rumors, about things about a person that are not necessarily, wouldn't be admissible other than the person who comes in and vouches that the defendant has good character.
Sure.
And so one of the ways to test that is to see if the witness, you in this case, have heard about these other things.
Sure.
If you have heard about them, then my question would be, well, in spite of this, you still say he's a good fellow.
May I respectfully, so are you referring to secondhand information?
I'm referring to anything that the court allows.
Okay.
And the question is whether you've heard it or not. If you have heard it, then the next step is, well, if you've heard it, does that affect your opinion to any degree? And if you haven't heard it, then we just move on to the next one.
Sure.
Okay. So, with respect to his good character, have you heard, and as a part of that he is acknowledged not being truthful with Vanderbilt Student Affairs interviewers?
I have not.
Okay. Have you heard, and is it a part of his character, that he has acknowledged being untruthful with Metropolitan Nashville Police Detective during an interview?
I have not.
Have you heard, and it is a part of the opinion that you base this on, that he's diagnosed by medical professional Dr. James Walker of having an alcohol use disorder?
No, sir, I have not heard that.
Have you heard, and is it a part of your opinion, that he has been diagnosed by the same Dr. James Walker of having a cannabis use disorder?
No, sir.
Okay. Have you heard, and is it a part of your opinion, that at the time this incident that we're here for, the trial, he had a pending student affairs conduct issue concerning an alleged assault on a fellow student?
Yes, sir.
You are aware of that? Okay. And the others will be more, I think, Judge, of the questioning him about his knowledge of the facts of this case.
Two drug cases.
And,
Two drug cases.
yes, and that, and also, I think, not necessarily bad acts, but the things that are in evidence in text messages about language that he testified about. I'll go ahead and say that Mr. Whitfield, in the evidence in this case, shows that, among other things, Mr. Batey sent a text message that says, quote, "We just helped the bitch to her room because he was too drunk. I need your help."
I object at this point on two bases. The first, I only use him as a character, not for honesty, but for sobriety and peacefulness. And, Your Honor, right here, where Mr. Moore was reading from, the examining lawyer can ask the witness about rumored arrests and charges concerning the defendant, because the witness's knowledge of rumors might impeach the witness in the eyes of the jury, not just about rumors in general, but it has to be arrests and charges.
I submit, no, Your Honor, is testing his basis of knowledge by anything that could go to affect his credibility of being a character witness.
That's not the law, Your Honor.
May I add also, Your Honor, that being diagnosed or not with a cannabis use disorder, that's not that's not a bad act. That's not evidence of bad character. I can ask him if he knew if he smoked marijuana, and then also an alcohol use disorder. It's not bad character. It's not bad act. It's just meant to inflame, and it's from Dr. Walker, who hasn't even testified. So I don't think those are relevant to come in at all. And referring to this young lady as a bitch, that's not an arrest. That's not, I think they can obviously argue some in closing that that's not good character, but I don't think that's relevant for this particular line of questions.
Just if I could respond, we actually weren't through, because another thing would be, well, Mr. Whitfield, you're aware that at Vanderbilt he had failed at least 2 drug tests while on the football team.
I knew of one.
Yeah, knew of one. All right. And Your Honor, sobriety, cannabis, and alcohol.
It's actually 1, not 2.
Okay, but he has the right to ask these questions in this jury out, all right?
And that's what I thought we were doing, is letting Your Honor decide what was going to come in and what wasn't.
Right.
And I would submit that the other line of questioning would be in front of the jury, setting, what I intend to do is just ask about, in general, what good character means to him. That there's a baseline. Certainly a person doesn't have to be Mother Teresa level to be a person of good character, but there are things that reflect upon that. Would you agree, Mr. Whitfield?
Sure.
And I believe that you testified in direct about his being, and I'm paraphrasing, so don't hold me to this, but essentially good student, polite,
Sure.
not aggressive, anything of that nature. And that's where, Your Honor, the questions about how he would refer to other people and the language that he used in the text messages and submit would be relevant for cross-examination. As well as, and I certainly would intend to and ask permission to show him one photograph and ask him if he believes that what he sees in this particular photograph is consistent with a person of good character. And I'll say that would be Exhibit 30M. Yeah.
Your Honor, may I respond before he shows him that? I feel that it needs to be ruled on exactly if Mr. Moore is in the law that he just quoted to Your Honor. But failed to say the examining lawyer can ask the witness about rumored arrests and charges concerning the defendant because the witness's knowledge of the rumors might impeach the witness in the eyes of jurors. The court has to determine that a reasonable factual basis exists for the inquiry and has determined that the probative value of a specific instance of conduct on a character's witness credibility outweighs its prejudicial effect on substantive issues. This is not arrests and charges. Okay.
The rule goes to instances of conduct. It's not just limited to arrest and charges. It's not limited to that. You need to read the rule further. All right? Go ahead.
That's what I would propose, that each of the areas of inquiry that I asked him about would be fair game.
All right.
Appropriate under Rule 405. And with, obviously, the advisory commission comments are all part of the rule.
And definitely not the picture.
And I would just reiterate, Your Honor, that cannabis use disorder and alcohol abuse disorder, that's not an instance of conduct. That is a finding by medical professionals. So certainly not relevant to this. You can ask him about specific instances of drinking or marijuana use. I think that's certainly fair game, just like asking about truthfulness to Vanderbilt student conduct or the Metro Police Department. But just a broad label when there's really no way to rebut that.
If I might just, again, that goes back to his saying he knows him to be a sober person, but there is an incident of specific conduct in addition to that. Mr. Whitfield, are you aware that shortly before, or have you heard of it, not aware of, have you heard that shortly before this incident that we're here for today, that due to, or not due to, but after having consumed a quantity of alcohol, that Mr. Batey got into an altercation with someone on Lower Broadway when Mr. Batey was urinating on the person's car?
Am I to give a yes or no answer, or do I have an opportunity to elaborate?
Do you know anything about that?
I am aware of it.
And Your Honor, as you rule on the part where I only asked about peacefulness and sobriety, have not inquired as into honesty. First conduct or statement of conduct or whatever they were asking about are irrelevant because I spoke on peacefulness and sobriety, never honesty.
Your Honor, I did not hear Mr. Whitfield's response about this rumor of Eddie urinating on.
You heard about it.
I'm sorry.
You said you heard about it.
Urinating in the car?
Yes.
Okay, I think I missed again. Is it possible that you could reiterate something there? I thought you were referring to an altercation. An altercation,
On
yes.
Lower Broadway, and
Yes.
what started the altercation was someone seeing him urinating on the person's car.
I was unaware of that. I was aware of an altercation.
Okay.
Yes. I didn't know the origins or genesis of the
But the
altercation.
Lower Broadway and the...
Correct. I just didn't know those specific details. but I knew there was an altercation.
Well, as you know, the thing is, when you bring in a character witness, you open the door for such questions. And,
What about the ones about honesty, Your Honor, that never came out? Honesty never came up, said limited to characters of peacefulness and sobriety, and that's all he has testified about in front of the jury is just peacefulness and sobriety, not honesty at all.
Judge, my response to that would be that on cross-examination, I can inquire into his opinion, which he has stated the person of good character, and delve into anything that touches on that.
it does. That's the danger of calling character witnesses. It opens the door to a lot of things that you may not want to come in.
And may I respond to it?
Well, I mean, how many times do I have to say this?
But, and no, you don't have to say that yet. I'm not saying I know that we did, and we limited our permanent character traits, like Your Honor asked, and if we limited our permanent character traits, I'm just stating for it, that's fine, Your Honor, we
All
limited our permanent character traits.
Your Honor, may I ask Mr. Moore again about this alleged incident of urinating on a car and getting into a altercation? That was before June 23rd of 2013?
Yes, it was.
Okay. I thought I heard him say after. I just couldn't, and I don't know if it was typing or something, I just didn't hear it.
Mr. Whitfield, is your understanding it was before the rape charges came?
Yes, sir, I do.
Okay, let's bring them in.
He's trying to room on the photograph before we were to put it up.
I'd like to verify just which one that is.
Sitting on the face.
Sorry?
Sitting on the face of the victim.
All right.
Okay, thank you. Yeah.
All rise.
Supervisor here.
All right, please be seated.
Mr. Whitfield, and a few minutes ago I tried to promote to give you your degree already as Dr. Whitfield, but Mr. Whitfield, you work at Emsworth, which is a private school here in Nashville, correct?
Sure.
And your relationship, correct me if I'm wrong, with Mr. Batey is essentially that of teacher, coach, student, athlete, correct?
I was his teacher,
Yes.
I was his coach, and I certainly tried to be a mentor, correct?
Sure, sure. And you're obviously here today because you want to testify on his behalf.
Absolutely.
And I'm sure he appreciates that. Mr. Whitfield, pardon me. as a character witness, which is what you are, you understand that?
Sure.
Because you know nothing of the facts of this case, do you?
Very little.
Okay. I mean, as far as facts of, having been in the courtroom, seen the evidence,
No, sir, I have not.
and what one person may say is good character might be different from someone else. Would you agree?
Sure, absolutely.
Okay. And so what I sort of want to do is, as far as a baseline of good character that, wouldn't have to be up at the Mother Teresa level, but certainly there are some things that people of good character ought not do. Would you agree?
Before I agreed, may I just make an observation, or can I add a statement? That the judgment I have formed of Cory Batey was based upon my interactions with him as a high school student.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Oh, I appreciate that. Appreciate that. And several years have passed since then, because he graduated in what, 2012?
I think it was 2012, yes.
Okay. And we're here now in 2016.
Right, yes.
And he had been away from Innsworth at least a year, maybe a year and a month or so, when the incident that led to these charges occurred, correct?
You're probably more conversant with the timeline than I am.
Well, and again, there's a lot of timelines in this, but he had graduated and had...
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
So he would have been a a sophomore scholastically at Vanderbilt.
Sure.
When the events that bring us here today occurred. So it'd be fair to say that, as you have just testified to,
Sure.
fair to say, but you testified to primarily basing it on his high school years.
Yes, but let me add, as I did earlier, that I was familiar with some of the instances you referenced earlier. So though my contact with him had decreased significantly, we still maintained some degree of interaction. So I was aware of sort of what was going on in his life, not on a daily basis, however.
Certainly. And given the age differential, taken as far as any social interaction with Mr. Batey and people of his age would not have occurred, that'd be correct?
You mean have I partied with him? No.
Okay. No. I was trying to find a polite way to say that.
Yeah, I'm a little older than him, sure.
All right. Yeah, those days are long gone.
Yeah.
Me as well. But back to the basic of the baseline for good character. Would you agree that sobriety, honesty, integrity, obeying the law, things of that nature are indications of good character?
Especially when they are formed on a consistent basis.
Correct. Correct.
Sure. It's not my inclination to say someone has bad character based upon what they do, periodically. I try to look at the bigger picture and the broader scope.
So online, there's some good in everybody?
Most people I know, yeah.
All right. And the young people that you are in daily contact with
Sure.
at Innsworth are good kids?
Sure, absolutely. As was Cory Batey.
Yes, yes. And that's what your opinion is here of today?
Absolutely.
And my questions have to deal with whether any of the things that I'm going to ask you, pardon me, would affect that opinion or change it in any way. And that is, as far as the sobriety, had you known him to drink to excess?
I didn't know him to drink at all.
All right. So, take it then you would be unaware that he had been diagnosed by a Dr. James Walker as having an alcohol use disorder.
Before I answer that, I would like to add, if you permit, that I do think sometimes, in my experience working with young people, that the transition to college, I think that's
I'm going to
new environment.
interrupt Mr. Whitfield, but that's getting into an area the court has ruled.
Answer the question.
Did you know that? Were you aware of that?
Can you reiterate the question?
Diagnosis of alcohol use disorder. Yes, sir. Were you aware of a diagnosis made by Dr. Walker that he had a cannabis use disorder?
No. Yes, sir.
And were you aware that while he was at Vanderbilt on the football team that he had failed at least one drug test?
Yes.
And was before the Student Affairs Council about that?
Yes.
And were you also aware that he had, pending at the time this incident occurred, a student conduct hearing based upon an allegation of assaulting a fellow student?
Yes. Not so distinctly. I don't know the sequence of events, but I was aware of that, yes.
And as far as back to the sobriety, were you aware of an incident that occurred shortly before the incidents that we're here for, involving an altercation down on Lower Broadway? It was based upon Mr. Batey having consumed alcohol and was urinating on someone's car.
I was aware of an incident. I was not familiar with the details to the degree that you described it.
And were you aware, or are you aware of testimony that is in this record of Mr. Batey acknowledging being untruthful to the Vanderbilt Student Affairs?
No, sir, I am not.
And are you aware, and were you aware that in this record there's evidence, testimony of Mr. Batey acknowledging being untruthful to Detective Mayo of the Metropolitan Police Department?
No, sir, I am not.
One of the things I believe you testified about was Mr. Batey being respectful and appropriate.
Yes.
At Innsworth, as would be expected of any student, correct? And part of that is being respectful to fellow human beings, correct? Both by words and action.
That is correct.
You agree? And if there is evidence in this record of Mr. Batey texting, I'm quoting, "We just helped the bitch to her room because who she was with, he was too drunk. I need your help, bro. I know I'm gone." Is that language, were you aware of that?
No, I hear profanity. I don't have no knowledge of the context of the interaction. I don't feel equipped to respond to the question intelligently.
So you're not aware that the context was that he was referring to the victim in this case?
No, I'm not privy to the details.
Likewise, a text that is, quote, "They are trying to say we raped this bitch Saturday night. We helped out a friend carry her to his room because he was drunk too," close quote. Are you aware of that existing?
No.
Have you seen any of the videos or photographs that were the essentially evidence in this case?
No, sir, I have not.
Okay. Now, I would ask to show the witness Exhibit 30M.
Would you come down, please, below that number?
Hold the water down?
Hold the picture.
Oh, hold the photograph. Okay. Down here?
Yes.
Judge may, Colonel Norman, place it on the screen.
Can. Is it keyed up?
She'll do it from her screen. You got it on HDMI 1, or it's still on 2. It was on 2.
Don't put it up there. Okay. Do you?
That's fine. If I could just describe it, is that a photograph of a person who appears to have their buttocks on the face of an unconscious woman?
If I could see a larger image of it, I think.
Here we
Okay.
are.
All right.
Using the middle finger gesture while balancing on his left hand. Do you see that?
I do.
Is that the conduct of a person with good character?
No, it is not.
Thank you, sir. Those are my questions.
All right, can we redirect?
No. Mr. Whitfield, look at all left over here, I'm sorry. Let's go back through the things that you were just asked about on cross. You were asked about, did you know about Mr. Batey being diagnosed by a doctor with alcohol abuse disorder? And you said you didn't know that, right?
I did not know that, no.
And knowing that, does that change your opinion of him?
No, it does not.
Okay. And
He's not, that would not make him the first person I've ever met struggling with alcohol or
okay.
marijuana use.
And I believe they went on to say he was also diagnosed with cannabis disorder by a doctor. And that wouldn't change your opinion of him?
No, it would not.
Okay. And you did say, however, you are aware that he failed a drug test at school?
I was.
And it was one drug test, you remember?
Yes, but can I come back to your question
go
about
ahead.
my opinion of him?
Yeah.
I would still believe that fundamentally, this is a decent person who is currently struggling with some issues.
Okay.
But I would not infer that he's a person of bad character because he's struggling with marijuana use and alcohol use. Those things don't equate for me.
And I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
That's okay.
I think that goes back to what you said on cross when he said that...
My father was an alcoholic and fed me, and I loved him.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, but-
I have to direct you to strike that testimony.
Okay.
That would go back to on cross when you said that was not your inclination, people are bad because of instances that happen.
Correct.
Right.
Yes, I'm trying to look at the broader picture.
Look at the broader picture. Okay.
Yes.
And you, again, as you were saying on cross, you basically based your opinion on him of when you've known him.
Yes, for 4 years.
Most
consistently.
closely at Innsworth.
With virtually daily observation, absolutely.
He graduated in 2012?
I believe that's correct.
Right.
I know it's 12 or 13.
Right.
I think 12.
And this incident happened in 2013?
Right.
And you were staying in contact with him, right?
Yes.
And now the incident on Lower Broad that you say that you were aware of?
Yes.
You didn't aware of any urinating going on, were you?
No, ma'am, I was not.
You were only aware of what was a rumor to be a scuffle?
Yes.
Okay. And...
I had I don't know.
Go ahead.
May I elaborate?
Go ahead.
Yes, I had the opportunity to visit with Cory about that particular incident, and he explained it as...
Yeah, Honor, he opened the door. He asked him about that specific instance of conduct, and he's just saying how he knew about it.
He knew about it apparently because Mr. Batey told him about it.
Well, he never said that. He was just about to say how he knew it. He never said Mr. Batey told him.
That's why I said apparently told him.
Okay. Well, can I ask him how he knew about it? How did you know about that instance?
It was rumored, and then I posed a question to Cory directly.
Okay.
And he shared with me some information pertaining to it.
Shared with him, and also the reference to as
Right.
And you know about it because Mr. Batey told you?
Yes.
And that's how you know about all the other instances, because he told you?
Yes. Which particular incidents?
The ones that you said you're aware of?
The incident with the student, with the failure, the drug test failure?
Yeah.
And the incident on Lower Broad?
Yes.
Yes, those were the incidents with which I became familiar through his own admission.
Okay.
Correct.
And knowing all that, does that change your opinion of him?
It doesn't change it alters my perception of him. It doesn't change my belief that this is a decent, fundamentally upstanding young man.
Okay.
No.
And you were recently shown some things that have been admitted here in trial.
Yes.
You were asked about text messages
Yes.
that were admitted here in trial. You were
Yes.
shown a picture admitted here in trial. Now, you don't know anything about the details of this case like you testified to already, right?
Correct. I don't know anything about the details, no.
Okay.
Nor do I know the context under which that image took place. I have no...
You don't know his state of mind?
I don't feel like I can. I see an image,
Right.
but often there's more to an image. I'm just... Okay, I don't...
I was asking, did he know his state of mind in the picture?
and that's why I checked.
No, I did not know the state of mind in
Your
this
Honor, asked
particular.
that his response be stricken.
Yes, it has to be stricken.
Okay. And as far as the text messages that were shown to you that were admitted here in trial that you don't know about because you don't know everything about the trial, the profanity that he used, does that change your opinion of him?
His use of profanity?
Yes.
No.
Okay. So, after being asked about all what you know,
May I add that I do not sanction the use of profanity?
Because court control.
Mr. Whitfield?
Yes.
Just answer the questions, okay?
One word?
Just answer the questions.
Okay,
All right,
sure.
you can explain your answer, but answer the questions.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You can't add commentary.
Yes, sir.
All right.
and Mr. Whitfield, when I ask you a question, if you would say yes or no first, right before you comment,
Sure.
okay?
Sure, I apologize.
But I appreciate it.
Okay.
No problem. You don't testify a lot, do you?
No,
Okay.
I don't.
All right, we're not experts here. So, after seeing everything that you've been shown and things that were introduced here in trial, do you still maintain what you said on direct? He's innocent until proven guilty?
Your Honor, objection.
Yes.
Totally irrelevant
That's not
and should be stricken.
That's not irrelevant. When he was asked about it, he testified on direct. It was not objected to when he said that he was innocent until proven guilty. He's been shown things that are evidence in a trial where he has not been convicted. And so I'm just asking, does it change his opinion of what he just said on direct?
Okay.
Okay.
Ask that question.
Okay.
Have you changed your opinion?
Has this changed your opinion?
No.
Thank you.
Anything further, John?
No, Your Honor.
Thank you, Mr. Whitfield. You're excused. Any other witnesses? Okay, both sides have rested. Any rebuttal proof?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, we're going to take a 10-minute break and then start closing argument. All right?
All rise. All rise.
Court still in session, no talking, please. We'll be in a 10-minute recess. 10 minutes.
gotta get around for a minute.